carrying over today. Bright sunshine coming through my hotel window. I'm excited. Great day for college basketball.
Great day for college basketball. Really, really bad day to be Lamar Jackson. That is the talk of the NFL. The only thing that seems to be relevant right now is Lamar Jackson was placed, the non-exclusive franchise tag was placed on him yesterday, right at the deadline. Almost immediately, all these teams start coming out with their own reports, or reporters are coming out with team reports saying this team is not going to pursue Lamar Jackson. This team is not going to pursue Lamar Jackson. Very, very questionable comments, words, decisions. I don't know, whatever you want to classify it as. It seems super fishy that these teams are not offering him a contract. It would be one thing for a team to meet with him, or all these teams to meet with him, and then them all say, well, we're kind of out on Lamar Jackson. It's a whole other thing for these guys to immediately say, we will not even meet with this guy to talk about what a potential contract would look at. He's going to get paid $32 million this season on a non-exclusive tag if he does not. For those of you who do not know the situation, a non-exclusive tag means that he gets the lower end of the franchise tag this season, $32 million, and he is open to negotiate with other teams. If another team offers him a contract that he accepts, the Baltimore Ravens will have an opportunity to match that. If they do not, they receive 2 first-round picks for Lamar Jackson, which is almost nothing compared to what the quarterback market has gone for the last 2 years. What do you take of the first 24 hours, not even, of Lamar Jackson's, apparent non-market amongst teams with a quarterback need?
It reeks of owners trying to overcompensate for a mistake they felt was made with Deshaun Watson. Yes. I don't know if there's a team in the world that couldn't. There may be 3 or 4 teams that could not use a 26-year-old former MVP quarterback. And for like the Atlanta Falcons and the Miami Dolphins to say that we're out. I mean, this is a league that loves to do their due diligence. They explore every option. People pride themselves on exploring every avenue to improve their team. This isn't one of those. You're telling me this is the moment where you're gonna say no, like we've made our decision already before even exploring this as an option. Like that's insane to me. That is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it seems very weird. So here are the teams, and I agree with you, and we'll get into it, but here are the teams that have so far come out and reportedly will not be pursuing Lamar Jackson. The Atlanta Falcons. Desmond Ridder is the only quarterback that you could think is their starter in 2023. The Miami Dolphins, who 1 week ago at the NFL Combine, we were hearing reports that the Dolphins are open to looking for a new quarterback, which includes moving on from Tua, but apparently does not include Lamar Jackson. The Carolina Panthers, who have openly said time and time again over the last 4 months that they will be searching for a franchise quarterback this offseason because that is the missing piece to their puzzle the last couple of years. The Washington Commanders, who, as crazy as it sounds, out of everybody on this list is the only team that I go, yeah, do I agree with the decision? No. Does it make sense that they're that in on Sam Howell? Yeah, maybe. They saw what they liked out of him last year. They gave him an opportunity at the end of the season. They feel like they want to give him a shot in 2023. That one at least makes a little bit of sense. And then the Las Vegas Raiders, who don't have anybody at all except for Jarrett Stidham, who is not the answer. I've come up with the list earlier because I was sitting around thinking about what teams could possibly trade for Lamar Jackson. Of those guys that were not named, the other teams that I could come up with, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which have no salary cap space, so maybe, but they'd have to make something work. The San Francisco 49ers have been open that they do not know what's going to happen at quarterback and that they are open for another quarterback. Lamar Jackson and Kyle Shanahan seems like a match made in heaven to me. The New York Jets, who are in on Aaron Rodgers, so I get that one. The New England Patriots, who me and you have talked about, and the Indianapolis Colts. Everybody else has said, no, we're not going to pursue Lamar. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It is not as if these teams will have to go pay him a fully guaranteed deal just by talking to them. All they have to do is go negotiate and say, hey, this is what we're willing to pay. Unless his contract, unless his side, which I think that the part that gets most blown away in this entire situation is the fact that Lamar is representing himself, which means that his agent is not out here calling other teams saying, hey, this is what Lamar wants. We're not budging. It's just Lamar Jackson, who is definitely not talking to other teams because he's not allowed to talk to other teams. So there is no leakage of what he's willing to accept outside of Baltimore or what his negotiation price is. So it's not like these teams have any inside knowledge outside of what the Baltimore Ravens are saying. Just like you said, it just seems like complete collusion. It just seems like the NFL owners have said, we made a huge mistake with Deshaun Watson. The Cleveland Browns screwed everything up. We cannot allow this to be a trend.
Yeah, and you wonder why. Do you think Derek Carr took a hit from this? Like, do you think he kind of had to feel the ramifications of Deshaun Watson getting overpaid? Do you think his contract was?
I think Derek Carr took the hits of Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Those guys that signed big deals elsewhere, are not Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers signed a huge deal in Green Bay. They were unable to do other things. Russell Wilson signs a huge deal in Denver. Now it's like they're stuck. So I could see Derek Carr doing that, but at the same time, it kind of felt as if Derek Carr was open to taking a team-friendly deal to say, hey, let's go win something. But I still think that's two totally different situations because Lamar Jackson's 26 years old, has won an MVP, is one of the best quarterbacks in football, undeniably, whereas there's questions about Derek Carr and what he could win and how much he could win for your team. Just seems like a different situation. And that's a good point because you look at other contracts, and that's where I think things get iffy. Is, okay, you don't want to hand Deshaun Watson or a Deshaun Watson type deal to Lamar Jackson. I understand that. I could totally get that. But Kyler Murray got $189 million guaranteed. Russell Wilson got 161. Aaron Rodgers got 150. You're telling me that Lamar Jackson can't even get somewhere near that? That right. You don't feel comfortable handing Lamar? Kyler Murray had one season where he proved he's a starting quarterback, and they immediately went, yep, nope, we're going to give him a boatload of money. Russell Wilson hasn't had a good year in 3 years. Boom, boatload of money. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. That's an isolated incident, I believe. Deshaun Watson didn't play football for 2 seasons. Boom, we're giving him a boatload of money.
Right. Why is Lamar the one who has to pay the price for those mistakes,
Yeah. Why can't you give him somewhere in the middle? Why can't you meet on a number and say, hey, this is it? It kind of feels, and again, I don't know the numbers, so I think the numbers change a lot of things here. But it feels as if if everybody wants the trend to go to Danny Dimes and the $80 million guaranteed and start reversing it so that they don't have to hand as much guaranteed money to these quarterbacks. And I'm sorry, but the league does not go in reverse. This is a players' league. It's always been a players' league. It very much so seems like the owners are trying to do something about that. Do you think that he plays under the tag? Do you think that if nobody offers him a deal, you think he's sitting out this season?
Yeah, I think so, and I think he should, because like we talked about this on a podcast I think earlier this week, but
yeah,
no downside to him sitting out for a year. Absolutely none. In fact, it'd probably help him to sit out for a year. So I don't think there's any reason for him to play under the tag. I'm sure Lamar's a competitive guy and he wants to play football, but look, there's no downside at all to him sitting out a year, resting up, getting healthy, and then waiting for someone to actually offer him a deal. There's no I can't think of a reason why he would play under the tag.
See, in my to-go today, I said that if Lamar does play under the tag, I could see it happening because he's a competitive dude and he's going to look at this like, I'm going to show the entire NFL, screw you. You guys can't do this to me. I am not the scapegoat. And he's going to go and have the greatest season that he's ever had. He'll win a second MVP. The Ravens might win a Super Bowl. And then somebody's forced into paying this guy a boatload of money before it's abundantly clear that he is being targeted. And I think at that moment, I don't know what could happen or what could come of this, but it does feel like at some point the NFLPA will have to step in and say, hey, look we all see what you're doing. We get what you're doing. You're not allowed to do this. Like you are not allowed to all team up and say, hey, we're not going to pay guys so that the market goes back down because we're too worried about where the quarterback market is because the Cleveland Browns screwed up. I feel like Lamar might come back and just throw for 49 touchdowns and, 0 interceptions and run for 2,000 yards and then just say, hey, guys, look, you got to pay me now. There's no excuses. You have to pay me now. And, I mean, that sucks for the Steelers. Just to tie in the Pittsburgh Steelers here, that would be terrible for the Steelers. It would be terrible for the Bengals. It would be terrible for the Cleveland Browns or the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills or anybody trying to win a Super Bowl in the AFC, because I think Lamar would go on an absolute rampage. But I agree. I think that if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm sitting around going, I don't need $32 million. Like, it would be very nice, but I could make that and more next year without risking my health. I'm only 26 years old. I play quarterback. I'm a mobile quarterback. So a year off is probably really good for me, especially with a knee injury. I do. I think it makes a lot of sense. Do you see a change coming? Do you see a shock in the next couple of days or maybe even a week where somebody tosses an offer at Lamar Jackson and, one of these reports are possibly wrong? Because this is who we got so far. So far, the teams that have said no: the Falcons, the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Commanders, and the Raiders. Everybody seems to believe that, or everybody that has been reporting these are national people. It's all ESPN, NFL Network, those type of guys have been like, oh, these are the teams. Do you see one of them being wrong and kind of like a shock to the system coming in the next couple of days, maybe a week?
I think we might know after the draft.
Oh, okay. 50
Yeah, I
days from
think
now. You think he's going to sit there for 50 days, no noise?
no noise. You know what? Actually, you know what? I do. I think that he's going to sit there. If these early reports are any indication, he's going to have to wait it out and he's going to have to sweat a little. But I think one of these teams is going to miss on a quarterback in the draft. They're not going to get one of those top guys. Like if you're the Falcons and
Yeah.
your options are Will Levis or Lamar Jackson, how long are you gonna let that sit before? I don't know. It seems like you would take a chance on Lamar, use your high draft pick somewhere else. Like I feel like the quarterback class is good this year. It's not deep. There's some real talent at the top, but one of these teams is going to get desperate, and I think Lamar is going to sit there long enough to make one of these teams really desperate.
Do you think that there's a situation where guys are sitting there in the draft, 10, 12 guys are coming off the board, and they already have a deal in place with Lamar? They've already talked to Lamar. It hasn't hit the public, maybe, and they pull the trigger right in the NFL draft, and then boom, the Baltimore
This
Ravens now have to, and they say yes, because if you're the Baltimore Ravens and that happens, you know what I mean, the day before the draft, because the day before the draft we'll have a pretty good sense of how the draft board's going to fall. If that happens the day before the draft and you're the Baltimore Ravens, I mean, I'm saying, okay, whatever, take them. Have fun with Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go draft somebody here. We're going to take maybe a year off from competing the way that we've been competing, and I'll take your 8th draft pick. Instead of having to wait a whole year and not having a quarterback, because after the draft, I mean, then the Ravens are screwed. At that moment, they don't have any hope because they don't have a quarterback at all. They don't have the option to go get a quarterback at all. It's Tyler Huntley season. That's not good terms or good news for the Baltimore Ravens. I could see it happening where it's the day before the draft and them going, all right, whatever. And everything moves very fast and things happen, or within a week. Cause I guess they have 7 days to sign the tender and match the offer sheet if he gets an offer. So I could see it happening like within the week of the draft so that it comes close. But those conversations will be had between the Baltimore Ravens and that other owner. And I think that's what's screwed up about this whole thing, is that it's almost as if the Baltimore Ravens are negotiating with teams, not Lamar Jackson negotiating with teams, or Lamar Jackson negotiating with the Baltimore Ravens. Do you get any sense that he will budge on a number? Do you get any sense that he is going to budge from that fully guaranteed deal?
No, because I think and I don't think he should. I think he's a confident guy. I think he's proud too. I think he has confidence in who he is and security in who he is. We've seen guys sit out before. We've seen guys, kind of hold out and stick by what they think they're worth, and it hasn't
Yeah.
exactly worked out a whole lot. I think Lamar is a completely different animal. I think he's way too good to budge on his number and what he wants. So, I kind of hope that he doesn't, and I hope that not hope that he doesn't, but I don't think he will. I don't think he will, and I don't think he should budge on what he wants and what he deserves. Quite honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if it's not Lamar Jackson, it's Joe Burrow is up for a contract. Justin Herbert's up for a contract. Who else? The Josh Allen already signed. I guess that would be the two big ones,
But
right?
those are big ones. Those
are huge names. Like those guys, Jalen Hurts will be up for a contract the year after that. Huge names. You are not going to get away with this if you are the NFL. You might be able to use Lamar as a scapegoat this season and say, hey, look, we're not going to give out fully guaranteed deals. But there is zero chance that you start this trend backwards because of the names that are coming up in the market this year and next year. Because Joe Burrow is not getting a cheap deal. Justin Herbert is not getting a cheap deal. Jalen Hurts is not getting a cheap deal. There is no way around this for the NFL. And even if the owners want to tag along and say, hey, look, we're going to try our hardest this season and we're going to use Lamar Jackson and that's just the way it is. Sorry, but the Cincinnati Bengals are not going to sit there. They're not the Baltimore Ravens. And we know that because the Baltimore Ravens had everything blow up in front of them the last 2 weeks. The people are calling out their GM, their training staff got fired because of how terrible that is. Everybody's hating on the Baltimore Ravens. The Cincinnati Bengals are not going to sit there and say, we're going to start some controversy with Joe Burrow, who's taken us to a Super Bowl, taken us to 2 AFC championships, has won the North every season he's been here and healthy. There's just, sorry, Joe Burrow's our guy. We're going to pay him whatever we got to pay him to make things work. Justin Herbert, maybe he's a little different. Jalen Hurts is the same thing as Joe Burrow. There's no way they're getting rid of Jalen Hurts. They're going to pay him whatever he needs to get paid. So even if the Baltimore Ravens and the owners want to try this right now, there's no long-term success in this plan, not for the owners.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like you might win this battle. You are not winning the war. This is a losing battle. You said earlier this is a players' league, and I don't know if I completely agree with that, but it's definitely trending that way. I think it's inevitable, and I think you were spot on when you said you cannot move backwards. Like this league is only going to move forward in that direction that we're talking about. Quarterbacks are going to keep getting paid more because they generate more value. So there's no winning this. There's no positive outcome for the NFL. You can either accept it and adjust and embrace this new way that the NFL is going to work, or you can just put it off for a year.
Exactly. You got 1 year, and I think Burrow's up this season. I think Burrow's contract, Burrow will get an extension this season. Yeah, and same with Herbert at some point. I think that's at least anticipated. So you got 3 months. You have 3 months before Lamar's sitting around just like, oh, well, you see what happened there? Well, that should have been me. I should have started this. You tried very hard. It didn't work. I think look, the NFL owners always try to do something. You know what I mean? They are the man. They're the business. And they try very hard to make their business as profitable as it could be for themselves, because at the end of the day, it is a business. It does not work when you target the most successful people in your business. If you wanted to scapegoat Danny Dimes, it could work. If you wanted to scapegoat a guy like Kyler Murray last year, it would have worked. If you wanted to do it with Deshaun Watson, it would have worked.
It would have worked so easily with Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson. The fact that you picked an NFL MVP who is in his prime, who has never had a team around him and still taken his team to success every single season, whose players are calling out the GM because they're doing a bad job. It came back to it's the wrong name to try to use in this situation, and it will come back to bite them in the butt. I think Lamar still gets screwed in it. But I don't think the long term is going to turn out the way that the owners are sitting around hoping it is. I mean, for Pittsburgh Steelers fans, just like you said, though, if he doesn't play under the franchise tag this year, they're screwed. The Baltimore Ravens, you might as well hang it up and take a year off, because you're not going to compete with teams in the North. You're not going to compete with teams in the AFC. There's no way you're getting through Kansas City or Buffalo in the playoffs with Tyler Huntley as your quarterback. It's just not going to happen. So, I mean, sucks to be the Baltimore Ravens. I think this is
But
still the beginning of the end for them.
they made their bed though.
Yes.
That's the thing. Like, there's no one who should feel bad for the Ravens. If I was a Ravens fan, I'd be pissed at their ownership. Like,
oh, dude, they're mad at us. The DMs that I have gotten, the emails that I've gotten, the YouTube comments, the last 24 or the last, when did we put out the it's all over for the Ravens episode on Monday, I think.
Yeah.
48
hours ago.
48 hours ago. The messages have been nonstop. I'm talking 1 a.m, 2 a.m. People are like, "What? I can't believe that you're saying it's all over for the Ravens." I'm like, well, I can't believe that you think that there's a chance. Like, I don't know what you're looking at right now saying, well, I think we're going to be just fine. I think the Ravens are going to be A-okay. They got Tyler Huntley. And in worst case scenario, Anthony Brown is the third string quarterback. And he played well at Oregon when he decided that he was going to throw the ball once in a while. So good for him. Now, the Ravens are in trouble. Just like you said, they made their bed. They got to lay in it. Whether they want this to work out or not, it's not going to work out in their favor. And if Lamar Jackson plays under the franchise tag, I do hope that he goes off for like 7,200 yards and like 60 touchdowns.
Absolutely.
And then next year he gets the biggest contract in NFL history. And I hope it's not in Baltimore so that he could say, screw you, Ravens. I'm out. Yeah. So that would be perfect. Let's talk a little bit of Pittsburgh Steelers football here. Free agency is approaching. It is next week, a week today, it starts.